So I want to say good evening to everyone joining us tonight. My name is Dr. Muyosori Makinde, and I'm so glad to be hosting you at this Lifestyle Champions International BYC. We call it BYC panel, and BYC stands for Boost Your Confidence. So what we usually try to do is to bring up scientific-based information that can help us to make healthy choices every day. Lifestyle Champions International is an organization that seeks to bring together like-minded individuals who are passionate about making healthy lifestyle choices. And so this is for you, in case you are wondering on a day-to-day basis, is this safe for me to eat this? Then this discussion is for you. And we're going to make it as quick as possible so we don't take too much of your time. So I really want to welcome everyone in the house. Pardon me, I might not be able to mention everyone by name right now so that we can start, but I want to especially recognize the presence of one of my trainers by name, Dr. Stephen Johanna. He's in the house tonight, one of the first to join us. He's the person that trained me in the college. The college is of lifestyle of family medicine. So thank you for joining us, sir. I can also see Dr. Wole Kukoyi in the house. Thank you for joining us, sir. I can see Dr. Ifeoma Fagbemi. Thank you so much. Dr. Kenny Makinde, that's my husband. Thank you for joining us, sir. He's an ardent supporter as well as a board advisor. So I'll still be recognizing other people as they join us toward the end of the meeting. But we want to kick off by introducing our first panelist for today. And for the next 10 minutes, she's going to be telling us what whole foods are all about. Because you must be wondering, once you saw that flyer, healthy eating, whole food, what's whole food about? So I'm going to invite my co-host in the person of Orekolade to introduce our speaker, our first panelist for tonight. Thank you once again.
Please unmute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was on mute. Okay, thank you. So Chioma Miruku, I hope I got that right, is a registered dietitian, nutritionist with an extensive experience in individualized nutrition profiling, counseling, and diet planning, aimed at helping clients improve the quality of their health and fitness levels. Having worked with clients in various aspects of life, she has a rich and diverse cultural perspective on nutrition and how to apply the practical knowledge in health and disease conditions. Her clientele cuts across individuals with need for weight management, diet counseling, stress management, general lifestyle modification, and those with health concerns that require diet changes like the hypertensive, diabetic, arthritic, etc. She's a wife and mother. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're looking forward to hearing all that you have to say. It's your CV is very impressive.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So you can go ahead. That's my twin sister. I'm sure you have noticed that the names are similar. I'm sure you would have met her at some point online. So
wow. Okay.
It's also
nice to meet you, the second twin.
All right. So over to you, ma'am.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. I remember sharing the flyer to this event with some people, and some of the responses I got was, you want to tell us that we've been eating the garbage food, as in the garbage part of the food, since We are going to be talking about whole food. So I noticed that so many people are really interested in knowing a lot more about food when it comes to what they have to eat to be healthier. Nobody wants to eat trash. And incidentally, people say they eat junk food. And I remember someone literally said junk means trash. So if you have to call it junk food, why should people eat it? Well, that's some of the responses I got when I was trying to spread the good news of this event to some people within my circle. All right, so this evening we're going to be looking at whole foods. Show consideration to here in Africa, in Nigeria, when we talk about whole foods, for some people it sounds as if these things are foreign foods, these things are things that have to be imported. You know, Nigerians would say we only eat gari, rice, and yam. So when you say whole food, it sounds like it's a particular kind of new food that they have to import, they have to buy or order specially before they can have access to them. But the truth is that those things are living here with us. We cultivate them. Oftentimes they are being fed to livestock, and we go and order the processed ones and eat, thinking that they are better for us. So what we're going to be looking at, like I said earlier, is on whole foods. What are they, and what are some of the examples that we have in our localities? Perhaps we've been seeing them, we're passing by them on a daily basis. So I'm here to show us some of those things that have a lot of nutritional benefits that we can explore and live healthier. What are these whole foods? Simply put, this is food in its complete natural character. Food in its complete natural character, not processed at all or minimally processed, but free of all additives or artificial sweeteners. Okay, now somebody will say, when we eat gari, don't we process the gari from cassava to the point at which you have to use it in the hot water to make gari? You know, and now in this definition, I also included that these foods can be minimally processed, but they must be free of all additives or artificial substances. That means that processes like washing, cutting, freezing, or even cooking can be helpful and healthy. And these are actually processing methods. It can come in form of you're buying a vegetable that's already pre-washed. That is a processing method that the vegetable has been taken through. If you harvest your vegetables from the farm, you don't eat them like that. You have to wash, you have to cut before you use them, before you cook with them. Those are methods of processing. Because if you don't take them through those small processing methods, you will not be able to use them or cook them. So things like washing, cutting of vegetables that are pre-washed, or buying pre-washed vegetables or canned vegetables and beans, frozen fruits, or even whole grains that are dried. These are small processes that they have gone through, within which, when they went through those small processes, some nutrients, some vitamins must have been lost. For instance, assuming you're cutting vegetables, like see people do in most of our markets here in Nigeria, vegetables have been bought and they will chop it in the market, then go home, wash before they cook. Now, this vegetable, they have not added any artificial ingredients in terms of a preservative or an additive to improve the color or the taste. They only cut it and they only cut and washed afterwards. So because of the peculiar nature of the vegetable, given that a lot of water-soluble vitamins are contained therein, just that process of cutting and washing have already gotten rid of some nutrients, essential vitamins and minerals that are contained in that vegetable. Now, what does it mean for this vegetable? It means that the kind of processing that we take it through will have to be considered. For example, washing it before cutting it close to the time when it's going to be cooked. If you enter a room where someone had just chopped onion, before you even know that there's onion on the table, you perceive the smell. meaning that some of these nutrients can also escape through the air. So at every processing, for every processing step or stage that a food product goes through, there is always some loss of nutrient. I think that will answer the question someone asked me, and maybe someone here might equally have the same kind of question. Don't we process everything? We process most of the things that we eat. It depends on the kind of processing that we're looking at. Like I said earlier, just pre-washing, chopping or cutting, freezing, these are all processing methods. And if you consider the kind of food that you're taking through any of this process, to be careful so that you don't have to lose a lot of nutrients in the process of processing these foods. So now let's look at whole foods versus processed foods. We have established the fact that whole foods are foods in its natural form, without any form of processing or minimally processed, but no addition of additives or preservatives. Now, highly processed foods are far from their natural state, and they often have added sugar, unhealthy fats and salts, and even preservatives added to extend their shelf life. But whole foods offer less of these and can positively impact our bodies because they play a lot of role in preventing a lot of sicknesses like diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and even some kind of cancers. Because when we eat this food, we get gaining a lot of nutrients. The nutrient density is huge. We still have all the fiber intact. We still have all the B vitamins intact. We still have phytonutrients that are coming in intact. So look at the pictures we have here. From vegetables, the picture on the left side, we can see someone might say, I'm eating burger with vegetables. Now, what's in the burger? We have the meat, perhaps the beef or the chicken that has been grounded, more additives added in terms of things that can help it hold together. Perhaps it's been fried, and then someone can also say, I have vegetables in it, and the bread, the burger bread is made out of wheat or any other grain that has equally gone through a processing method. So you compare that as against eating the whole grain, discover that before they get to that burger state, something that resembles food, a lot of nutrients have been dropped along the way. On the other side, the other picture, we also see things that are food made out of whole foods, to a point that we'll call them convenient food. They're easy to grab and go. We don't need to spend time going to cook this in our kitchens. So the truth is that a lot of nutrients have been lost before this food walked through this whole process to get to this point where we grab them and go as fast food. For every processing step a food is taken through, nutrients are dropped along the way. Nutrients will be dropped along the way until we get to the final stage where we see something that looks like food. But the truth is that thing that looks like food, how much of nutrients left in it? Considering the anatomy of a grain, like we have in the picture on the right, see the whole grain and then the white grain. You know that we have the bran cells, the endosperm, and the germ cells. And look at the different content. For instance, when we make things like ogi, pap, we normally will grind it in the market, in the mining places, like the engine where we grind our pap and all that. When we do that, we now go home, take it through a sieving process, where we have to now take the chaff that will feed our animals and our birds. Then we'll sit with the white part, which is what we have just the endosperm. We'll now sit with that one and drink that one as ogi, or we'll use that one to make agidi. And we think we have gotten the best out of it, while the animals just eat the chaff. Chaff is actually the germ cells and the germ cells and the bran cells and part of the germ cells all gone for the animals to enjoy. Why would sit with the endosperm that is even carbohydrate dense? That is the reason why most people that want to deal with their blood, controlling their blood sugar levels, are finding it very difficult to achieve that. Because when you have the bran cell, which is where the fiber is contained, when you have that out of that product, it means that the exit rate of sugar, which is the end product of carbohydrate metabolism, into the bloodstream, will be so fast. So people will get to have a lot of spikes. I'm getting an echo. Is it coming from me? People get to have spikes in their blood sugar levels after taking that OGI. As against when that OGI can be milled at the engine, even it just dehydrate and prepare whenever you want to make your OGI. So you can have everything intact. With that, you can now say we are eating a whole food. So when we process our OGI and we sieve it and take out all those fiber, and of course, some of the jam cells will have a lot of the B vitamins and many other healthy fats, we discover that we are eating the processed food, which at the end of the day offer far less benefit as against when we eat the whole grain. Now, the OGI usually made from a corn or millet or guinea corn. These are, healthy grains that have a lot of nutritional benefits that we can eat either as a meal, like in the case of corn, we can either boil it, we can either roast it, either take out the corn from the cobs and use it to make porridges, or combine with legumes like beans to make porridges. But when we want to turn it into other things, like you can also just grind the corn mildly into grits to make porridges too. So those processes, you discover that you're not losing anything, you have everything intact. But hence, we'll not take it to these other extra processes. We'll have to take out some part of it. It becomes very unhealthy at that point. Some people will go as far as, drying the OGI paste, the pap paste, to have it in powdery form. Then add a little extra something to preserve it so that the shelf life can be longer. Then they will now put it in packages and sell as pap. And people, mothers like you and I, Dr. Moye, will go to the stores and buy this thing and say, easy. No, that's not pap made easy. That's unhealthy pap because all the beneficial parts of it has been taken out. So eating whole foods offers us a lot of benefits. I think the next speaker is going to deal with this. Whole foods are nutrient dense, a lot of fiber, B vitamins, minerals, they contain proteins and healthy fats, carbohydrate, and they offer us less calories and sodium. How? Because when we have this foods processed, something extra will be added, maybe sugar to sweeten it or to change the taste. Some oil, for instance, if you are making French fries, you have to cut the potatoes, deep fry them. When that happens, you discover that we are adding extra something to it. That is oil in terms of calorie, and it becomes a problem for people that want to lose it and are eating that kind of food. Something like fish. Fish, we know that fish contains a lot of healthy oils, omega-3 fatty acids. But when we take this same fish with its benefit, all the nutritional benefit that it offers, and deep fry it, discover that the ratio of the omega-3 fatty acid reduces. We have introduced saturated fat into it. And especially when we deep fry with all the oils that are high in omega-6, we discover that the ratio of the omega-3 reduces. At that point, that fish is no longer whole. We have denatured what it naturally carries by cooking it through that process. So what I'm trying to say here is that cooking is also a processing method. In as much as we don't go to the shops to buy all our foods, and we claim that we are buying from the fresh farmers market, fresh produce market, we are buying our foods whole, the processes to take it in our kitchens, cooking methods will take them through in our kitchens, can also denature them and rid them of all these their natural components. And at the end of the day, we end up eating the not so healthy or not so whole foods at the end of the day. So I'm sure that the other speaker will tell us more about the other benefits of whole foods. Now, in Africa, can we find some of these whole foods? The truth is that we can, you know. The problem I have come to realize over time dealing with patients and interacting with people is that we have cultural influences affecting the way people accept food. We have people that most people tend to accept only what they knew growing up. You know, I've met people that say, I can't even try fonio seed. That's acha. I can't try that, and I don't know that thing because I've not eaten it before. I don't know what it is. We didn't grow up eating it. So we have that as a major factor. People just stay with what their mother and their father fed them while they were growing up. And because of that, when they move to other cities in the same country, where they could have tried other things that are available, which are equally very healthy, you know, they stick to what they knew or what they think that they know or they can tolerate. And because of that, they will have limited options. Most times they'll have limited options, and that affects the quality of their entire nutrition. Now, examples of whole grains, whole foods includes grains, legumes, fruits and vegetables, meats, eggs, and our poultry. Okay, for grains, you know, it's a known fact that Africa has more native grains than many other continents. But the only problem is that most of the grains of Africa are actually going on extinct. You know, maybe if it's such a grain that is being cultivated in a particular rural community in Africa, and that rural community don't have access to good roads and transportation, whereby they can bring those produce out of those interior localities to where people can access them and take them to other places they are not known. You discover that those grains will just die with the people in that community. You know, as the young ones are growing up, they'll be leaving the villages to the cities. They'll forget about what they used to eat in the villages. Perhaps they might think, oh, this is for the village people. And they'll move to the cities and continue with the city life and other things that are being eaten in the city. While the old farmers in the village, at some point, they'll all die, and the particular grain or food will be forgotten. So we have a lot, even in Africa. Okay, for instance, Africa has its own species of rice, along with millet, barley, sorghum, which is guinea corn, you know, a lot of varieties. For instance, things like teff. Teff is not grown in Nigeria, but in other African countries, like we have around the Ethiopia and Eritrea, countries they call the Horn of African countries. That's where you find this particular product a lot, and it's grouped as part of a product in the millet family, along with fonio seeds and the proso. The proso millet is actually what we call gero here in Abuja. So most of these foods exist, and it's just a fraction of people that actually, you know, feed or eat them. For instance, things like finger millets, that's what is popularly called tamba in Abuja here, started becoming popular because it's actually one of the grains of Africa that are actually going on extinct. Thank God some researchers, you know, will once in a while bring some of this product to limelight, highlighting some of the nutritional benefits, and they'll start becoming popular. And you know how our people behave. Yeah, oh, this is good for diabetes. Everybody goes there. And once everybody is going there, the food is getting some popularity, and then the cost in the market will begin to rise, you know. But the truth is that there are so much more that we can feed from. You know, a lot of other grains and cereals in Africa are grouped as wild grains because they're not they're not cultivated by a majority of persons, and they're not really known. So we have a lot. It's not just our rice, our corn, or sorghum. We have so much more. Wheat have a lot of varieties too.
In about 15 minutes.
Okay, legumes, over 18,000 species on earth. And we have also a lot. And we know that legumes are also rich in fiber, carbohydrate, protein, vitamins, and a lot of, too. Even calcium, our legumes contain calcium, because people would just think calcium, think milk whenever they remember need for calcium. Discover that we have legumes too that also are very rich in calcium. So we have a lot of species, the cowpea species, the beans and its various species, soybeans, purging peas, even peanuts. Peanuts are actually legumes. People usually think that peanuts are nuts. They are not nuts. They are legumes. And we know that legumes are actually any plant that keeps the seed inside pots. So peanuts fall into that category. Lentils are not really grown in Africa, but recently some countries like Ethiopia and some other East African countries like Kenya started growing some varieties of lentils. And we can see that if you go to our big malls, for instance, see here, you get to find lentils. They're actually shipped from Kenya or some of the East African countries, but they are not actually grown in West Africa. So we get more by eating our foods whole. For our fruits and vegetables, it's best that we have our fruits whole, like your fruit cuts, if you want to turn them into drinks, ensure that you are doing the freshly squeezed juices as against buying the packet juices that are full of concentrates and a little added sugar and some preservatives. So taking the fruits whole, or if you want to take them as juices but without any added anything, would still group it as whole food eating. But remember that when you're juicing your food, you're taking out the fiber. So you're losing something. So when you compare fruit whole and making fruit juices out of your fruit, you discover that it's better, it's more beneficial when you eat the whole fruit, because again, to get all the fiber. Okay. And then our vegetables, instead of making vegetable chips and maybe dips, it's best that we'll eat our vegetables whole, cook them mildly so that we don't get to destroy all the vitamins that can be denatured by heat, and be able to get all the benefits from them. For meats, yes, we have processed. Meats can also be processed, like we have the burgers, we have the what is it called now? We have a lot of processed meats, the sausages and all that. Okay, so but somebody might argue, meats, can you really can all your meat process be whole? The truth is that when the issue of antibiotics and hormones that are being given to animals arises, discover that those kind of animals that are being fed with antibiotics and hormones will not be grouped as whole, because something extra is in that meat that is going on your table. So that is why it is advisable that people try to, go for grass-fed animals, so that there is no extra hormone or antibiotics going into excuse me, going into our bodies as we eat this meat. Okay, the same thing applies. The same thing applies to fish. We have a lot of issues with fish when it comes to mercury contamination. And the truth is that fishes that are gotten from the rivers, as from the wild, are actually far than the ones that are raised commercially, because those ones that are raised commercially actually have the risk of being contaminated with other chemicals. Yes, like chemicals that we used to clean in our homes and all that. So fishes from the wild are better. But when it comes to mercury contamination, there are also some fishes that are known to have more mercury, more mercury contamination that can easily get contaminated with mercury than other ones, especially the big fishes. The bigger they are, the more the possibility that they have more mercury accumulation in their bodies. Secondly, because the big fishes will get to eat the smaller fishes. So we have to be wise when we are choosing some of these products to ensure that in as much as we are not buying or eating the overly processed forms of this food, those ones that we buy as whole foods are equal, should be whole in the sense that they are whole and not having any form of additives or contaminations to it. So it's best that we eat our foods whole so that we can get more from them. How do we eat whole foods always? We have to cook more often. Yes, you have to cook more often. I always tell people that like to eat out in restaurants and all of that, I always tell them that if you have a particular health concern, if you want to control, for instance, your blood cholesterol, your blood pressure, being on a low salt eating plan, and you're eating from restaurant, you're not going to tell them, today I'm coming to eat, don't cook with salt, don't add this bouillon cube, don't do this. When you get there, what they give you is what you get. So the safest thing to do is to cook more from often at home so they can have control over what enters into your what enters into your stomach. Eat a lot of your fruits and vegetables fresh and try to include them in almost every meal. From my interaction with people, I discovered that people don't include buying fruits and vegetables to their shopping list. It comes up as an afterthought, maybe after buying all the other things, okay, and small changes left. And that's okay, let me just buy orange. Let me just buy. So it has to form part of the list. We have to prioritize these things when we go shopping because they have to form part of our every meal so that we'll be able to eat healthy and be healthy. Eat fewer convenience and processed foods. It means that if you have to go to work in the morning, knowing that you know that you can't come back early enough to grab your lunch from home, try and pack yourself your lunch. With that, you'll be able to control what you eat and eat fewer processed foods. Remember that when we say processed food, it's not just only food out of the can or food out of the packs. The processes we take them through our kitchen can denature or rid them of all their nutrient profiles. So for our beverages, we have to go for options such as water, which we classify as the best drink. We can have teas, green tea, or any other kind of tea, preferably caffeine-free. And yes, fresh juices, skim milk or soy milk, as against other beverages like the carbonated beverages. I
Thank
think
you.
that will be it. Thank you.
So much, Madam Shoma.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wow, wow. Please let's give her a clap within the chat box. If you can put a clap in front of your name, express gratitude to Mrs. Chioma Miruku. Thank you so much. I know we've just scratched the surface with this thing.
Yeah, you said 10-15 minutes, so I have to just do a scratch.
So much.
Yeah.
For those of us who are just joining us, our speaker, the panelist that just discussed with us now, she's a registered dietitian and nutritionist. And she has a lot of experience, with nutritional profiling for people on an individual, on an individualized basis. She's also an ESCO in the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria. And I've learned so much working with her. And we're so grateful that you took time to speak with us today. I wish we really had more time, to discuss. Some questions are even coming in already, which we're going to listen and we're going to address. But before then, let me quickly welcome our next panelist because of time. Normally, we like it to be a 1-hour program. So in the next 10 to 15 minutes, Dr. Ademola Adewonyi is going to be speaking to us. He's a specialist physician in hematology and blood transfusion. I'm sure a few of us might be wondering, how did a hematologist get involved in lifestyle medicine? But that's the interesting thing about lifestyle medicine. It's a subspecialty for every specialty. So once you're passionate about it, you find out that it applies to every aspect, of medicine. So he's an active researcher and he's a lecturer at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos. Having been involved in the management of chronic diseases such as sickle cell disease, blood cancers, and other conditions in the last 15 years of practice, Dr. Adewonyi holds a firm belief that nurture and lifestyle contributes largely to diseases aside nature. As such, healthy choices and lifestyle modification are a great path to health and healing. That is his belief, and is also an associate of Lifestyle Champions International. So you're welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us this evening, despite your busy schedule. And we are looking forward to gaining some knowledge from you. And I believe you're going to be speaking to us about the benefits and the demerits of the benefits of whole food, versus the demerits of processed food. And Madam Chioma has already highlighted what whole foods are. I wanted to pick out some of the points that she mentioned, but I don't think that's necessary for now. Let me just allow you to go on with the discussion, sir. You're welcome, Dr. Boying.
Thanks very much, Dr. Ray. And thanks to Oretwin as well. Yeah, I should also say thank you to Chioma, Mrs. Chioma Miriku. It was so nice listening to your talk on whole foods. So essentially, I'll be talking about the benefits of whole food. One thing I like about your talk is you brought it home. So trying to, identify to us some of the local options or available local whole foods. I was just thinking that it would have been nice to also see what some of these things look like the finger, something, So yeah, so thanks a lot for that talk. Now I'll just essentially speak to the benefits of whole foods. We can't overflow this. Just like Mrs. Chioma said, whole foods are essentially they are plant-based foods which has undergone little or no processing. Now, just by that definition alone, some of the benefits begins to come out loud to you. So if you have subjected them to no or little processing, which means that they retain essentially their natural form. So this is nature for nature. So that's one firm benefit of whole foods. Now, the other thing which Chioma also rightly mentioned is that they retain their fiber content. And when food sources retain their fiber content, that is a lot more healthy than processing, which oftentimes depletes the fiber content. And that, in a long way, helps digestion. It helps to move bulk, it helps to move bowel, and reduces a lot of gastrointestinal issues, the bowel syndromes, bowel malignancies, bowel cancers. Yeah, so those are very fun benefits of whole foods. Now, the other one is that, we're looking at this from the sciences behind it. And then the other thing is that a lot of research has gone into whole foods in management of conditions, especially heart or cardiovascular diseases. And whole foods or whole food diet have been shown to reverse even chronic problems like hypertension, diabetes. So that's one benefit, and there is evidence based to this actually. So aside from preventing lifestyle-related problems, heart diseases, diabetes mellitus, they are also been shown to reverse some of these chronic morbidities. Now, whole foods are also, because they retain their fiber content, they have been subjected to little or no processing. Essentially, they retain a lot of complexity, which the refined foods do not have. So it has to go through processing through the entire gut, which is about 8 meters. And like someone argued that if God wanted us to take direct sugars, refined sugars, carbonated drinks, he doesn't need to have created a gut that is 8 meters long. And so you only need to take it, you only need a stomach for absorption, and that is it. But the reason why God created a gut that is that long is because it needs to undergo processing for health. And so it goes through a lot of breakdown processes from being complex into the simple sugars, and then they are absorbed. So these whole foods, they are essentially foods without high glycemic index. So they are absorbed, but they are absorbed in a gradual manner compared to processed foods that are just concentrated refined foods. And then that can cause a major spike in blood sugar levels. And then that can burn out the pancreas and predispose to diabetes mellitus. The same thing for fat. So they also help to optimize body fat levels, thereby reducing the chances of dysregulation of fat content in the body. The other thing is that you and I know that obesity is becoming an epidemic, even in developing countries. In the developed world, there are a lot of obesity issues, but even in developing countries, there are still trends that suggest that this potential might rise to epidemic proportions. Now, that's one benefit of whole foods, because there's regulation to absorption into the body. These are not direct elements. So the chances of excess weight gain is reduced. And so that helps to maintain and prevent obesity. Now, one other very important benefit compared to processed foods is the fact that cancer risk is much reduced. So for persons that live on whole foods, the risk of cancer is very much reduced. Like I said, there are food sources with high fiber content, and a lot of problems associated with high circulating blood sugar levels or high fat content in the blood is knocked out. So to a large extent, peroxidation, oxidative stress, and these factors that might predispose to evolution of cancer is reduced. One other benefit is that whole foods tend to delay or prevent cognitive decline. And as a rule, cognitive decline tends to increase with increasing age, and there are a lot of associations around that. So it's also been shown that persons that live on whole foods have less or lower tendency towards cognitive decline. Now, the other interesting bit that Choma also mentioned is that if you, for instance, she cited akamu or ogi, and that goes through a lot of processing, which is what is available. She also talked about vegetables. Now, vegetables, by the time you subject them to cooking and other processes, you chop them in the market, they begin to lose nutritional value. And one of the things that we know is that cooking destroys a lot of micronutrients. So by the time you subject whole foods to this degree of refining or processing, a lot of micronutrients, these are nutrients that are required in very small quantity, and a lot of them have very significant complications, if I should use that term. And that forms one of the common presentations that I would see in the hematology clinic, because you have a lot of persons presenting with nutritional anemias, ranging from iron deficiency, negative balances for folate, for cobalamin, and other micronutrients. And food refining, cooking, and all that destroys many of these water-soluble micronutrients. So whole foods much better than processed foods. One final thing I should say in trying to save time in discussing the benefits of whole food is that it's a secret of longevity, and this is being demonstrated in populations that have been found to live whole. Japanese and some other populations that are found to live longer in terms of the average life expectancy. And one of the core base of their diet is whole foods, especially grains. Another major fundamental, which we're not talking about, is the fact that they exercise a lot. Yeah, so whole foods is, several multiples better than processed foods. It might be less convenient, because you can run into a fast food and get something right on the go. But in the long run, they are healthier choices, and they are a strong secret to longevity and good health. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adewoyin. Thank you for
Thank you very much.
sharing with us a few of the benefits of whole food. So it's such an extensive topic. Please let's appreciate Dr. Adewoyin. We don't have so much time anymore, but let's just appreciate him for sharing with us. I'm sure he made it short so that we'll be able to take all the questions in the chat box. So we really want to appreciate you for sharing with us. I jotted a few things down. It was interesting to note that based on what Madam Chioma said, that each grain that you see has an anatomy. Wasn't that interesting to you? She talked about the endosperm. She talked about the bran. And what was the other parts again now? But what we discover is that from the processing that we do, we take most of the we just take largely carbohydrates, from whatever meal we're eating, instead of us to take the bran, which contains, that's the fiber content. And from what Dr. Adewoyin said now, it helps to control the rates at which sugars are absorbed into our bodies. Remember that everything that we eat goes into our body as glucose or sugar. So fiber is one of the things that makes the difference. It controls absorption. And so that's why we are able to control the rate of obesity and overweight when we eat more fiber. And she also talked about cultural influences. I think that's something we need to take note of. We need to break down some of those barriers and explore, some of the foods in other cultures in Africa, and that will help us to have a large variety. One of the downsides, of nutritional counseling in the past, especially for people who are diabetic, is that we always hear people say that, oh, it's only beans I can eat. People believe that the only diet that is good for them, especially if they are diabetic, is wheat and beans. But scientific data shows us that nutritional counseling has gone beyond that. You can have a whole variety of meals, and all you need to do is to take it whole and control your portions. Some of the things that Dr. Adewoyin also referred to, he talked about the fact that whole meals are associated with increased longevity. It helps to prevent obesity. It reduces the rates of cognitive decline. For those of us who are wondering what that means, we're discovering that we're having more cases of dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and some of these things are also being related to our diet. So if you want to improve your cognition, your meals actually matter. So whole meals reduce the risk of heart disease, reduce the risk of cancers, bowel cancers. That's one of the things that Dr. Adewoyin mentioned. And all this is based on data. So now, in the remaining time available to us, let's look at the questions we have for our panelists. Let me try and take it from the top. I'm trying to scroll down. Okay, so the first question here, I think that's going to be, it can be for either of the speakers, but I think Madam Chioma can take it. What is the advantage of roasted or oven heated roasted meat or fish over frying? So this person wants to know what is the advantage of roasting fish or meat over frying? Can you help us with this?
Okay, advantage of roasting over frying. The thing is that when you roast, you are roasting over the dry heat, either in the oven or in the open heat. And some people believe that when they do that, most of the oils that drop, that the part of the fat that is in the meat is being taken out. But when you fry, you are adding more fat to it, especially when you do deep frying. But on the other hand, when we roast, we actually, allowing some elements to develop in the process that are not healthy, things that at the end of the day can become carcinogenic components, especially when we roast to the point of charring the meat. So now the question now will be which is the best way of cooking our meat or our fishes? The best method will be any method that will not take that protein, that meat or your fish, through a very high temperature. Because the higher the temperature, the more easy becomes for those compounds that are not healthy to be formed. Now, for something like roasting and frying, both of them actually takes that product through a very high temperature cooking. So that's why we have other methods like broiling. We have to cook inside, big quantity of water that is seasoned and slowly, and between oven roasting and open air roasting, open fire roasting, the oven roasting might somehow be a little bit better than the dry heat, open fire roasting, because a lot of heat, open fire, fresh fire is on the meat and it can easily get charred. But with the oven, you can control the temperature. So that makes it a little better. But comparing with frying, I'll prefer that we do the roasting to fry, because when we fry, we are not just cooking that meat, we're equally adding something extra, which is fat, including the calorie value. And also for fishes, we are denaturing the natural components of the omega-3 fatty acids. We are reducing the ratio of the omega-3 to saturated fat by taking it through that process.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's a lot of instruction for a lot of us. So exposing our meat to very high temperatures is not really the best, because there's a risk of charring. And there are actually some other products that are generated, we call them AGs.
Yes.
I don't want to say too much of stuff that we can't understand. So it's better to actually stick to our boiling. That's actually the best. Okay, thanks so much for that question, for answering that question. There's another one here that says, is it okay to take green tea every day? And how do we know the right green tea? As we have several of them in the market. Have you encountered this question with some of your clients? How do you deal with that?
Okay, taking, green tea, if you just Google green tea, you're going to be seeing a lot of benefits that they have to offer. If you take green tea, they will tell you if you take green tea every day, you have chance of losing weight, controlling diabetes. I was like, okay, this product can do all of this. But the truth is that all those nutritional benefits because of this antioxidant content, I wouldn't recommend, especially pregnant women and people that have need for iron absorption, to take green tea every day, because tea actually can affect the way our body, absorbs iron. there is some anti-nutrient that are contained in teas, that including green tea, that will interfere with iron absorption. So for a pregnant woman, I won't even recommend teas. And for someone like women with heavy menstrual flows, or any person that have high need for iron, I wouldn't recommend tea. But green teas are healthy. If you're not pregnant, you can take green tea every day, maybe a cup or two, but not just filling up a whole jar and keep drinking because you want to lose weight, which is the most reason why many people like me today are drinking green tea. Not because they want to benefit other things that it contains, they just think it's going to make them lose weight. Dentally, many people that are drinking tea to lose are not doing that because they're not controlling their calorie intake, so it's not going to work.
Thank you so much for sharing that important information. I think a lot of people are misinformed and they think that they can lose weight the easy way. I think that's one thing I discover among a lot of individuals. They want it fast. They don't want to work it out. It's just like you're going to school, you're preparing for an exam, and you're looking for an easy way by cheating or by getting the paper from someone or telling someone to tell you the answer at the exam. I believe that also when it comes to maintaining a healthy body weight and even maintaining a healthy health status, that's a healthy status, or quality of life, we need to work it out. It's not automatic. It doesn't just happen. So thanks so much for sharing that. Somebody was asking about frying of egg.
Okay, whether it's healthy?
How about frying? Is it okay?
Frying is just a cooking method. And when we are talking of frying, there are two ways to fry. They are doing deep frying or, I'm looking for my video. Okay, or shallow frying, where you have to fry with very minimum oil. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can't find myself. Okay.
We can find you.
Yeah, we can see you, we can hear you.
Okay, so when we are frying egg, we are adding extra oil to it. Egg on its own contains its own natural fat content. So as again, it's not bad to fry, provided you're not going to put a lot of oil. But if you're frying just because you're looking for another option apart from boiling the egg, because I've met people that would say they don't like the smell that they get from boiled egg. You can scramble it or you can poach it. When you scramble your egg, just season the water or use your fish or your chicken stock. Just pour the egg and keep on scrambling. You still get the feel that you have when the egg is fried. The only difference is that you don't have that extra fat added. And with that extra fat comes extra calorie you have to deal with at the end of the day. Okay. So if the reason for frying is just to look for another option apart from boiling, try scrambling in milk, try scrambling in your seasoned water or your meat or your fish stock, then try poaching too. Those are all the options.
Thank you so much. Dr. Adewanyi, do you want to add anything to what Madam Choma has said?
Yeah, it was just in line with that thought about the green teas, that some of these food sources, it has to be in moderation because they have the other side as well. Like the teas contain tannins, some other sources contain phytates and phosphates, and these are established to inhibit or hamper iron absorption. So it's just important to have a right mix and ensuring variety of these food sources. So I just wanted to keep that in.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. A few more questions. Thank you for staying with us, everyone. It's already 8, but let's quickly try and address these questions. Eating small fish compared to big fish because of mercury content, could the ecosystem not be at risk?
Yeah. That question sounds interesting. Yeah, so, well, for me, if I'm to respond to this, so I think the thought is that the big fishes, of course, have bigger tissue and they would contain more mercury content, especially, I mean, also dependent on the water sources. So this essentially has to do with pollution of the ecosystem. So in the first instance, why should our water sources contain mercury? So if we deal with that, then we shouldn't have to deal with big or small. But if we can also keep track of the quality of the water, then we can sort of also keep track of the level of exposure. Yeah, so I think it's not just about the size of the fishes, but it's more about the quality of the water bodies, and that speaks to general, issues to the ecosystem. Yeah, that's my thought.
Thank you so much for that. So the way we treat our ecosystem is really what matters. There's a way in which nature balances, whatever we have within the ecosystem. But the way we treat the ecosystem is also important. What are we putting into the waters? Okay, so we have a question here. There's a medicine called omega H3. Can it be used as a food supplement? Madam Choma, you want to help us with that?
Omega H3
Yes.
is already a supplement, right?
Yes.
And one thing we do know about supplement, in as much as many of the supplements are good and they are being prescribed, our bodies prefer to uptake these nutrients from natural sources. So
Yes.
it's safer and better that we eat our foods. And we also know that some of the things we buy in bottles in the name of supplements, at the end of it, they're not even bioavailable to the bodies. They are not, they don't get to be digested and absorbed into the system. So we're also looking at the quality of the supplements that we are buying in the name of supplements. So like I said, I am an advocate of get everything from your kitchen, get everything from your food, apart from when it is prescribed. And before these things are prescribed, I believe that the physician must have seen the great need to supplement before they are prescribed. But I advise that people shouldn't just go and buy these things off the shelf because you're looking for it. Try and get them from your natural sources. That is where the body will even prefer to uptake them.
Just to buttress that point, there was a study, a very large study that was done in the United States. And they were looking at the DASH diet. DASH diet means dietary approach to stopping hypertension. And so they were looking at the different things in the diet that can help to reduce the risk of hypertension. And you know what they discovered? They discovered that the elements, the natural elements that you have within natural food, such as magnesium, potassium, calcium, they actually had a positive effect on the blood pressure by dropping the BP by a certain number of millimeters of mercury. We normally measure the blood pressure in mercury. And they now compared to the use of supplements, and they discovered that the effect that was gotten on the blood pressure by the natural products was not attained, using the supplements. So most of the time we think we're getting what we need, but we're not really getting it. So sometimes we do use those supplements as an adjunct, but that is when you are not really getting what you need. Maybe there is a disease process going on in that person, and the person needs, another way of getting in those supplements or that nutrients more rapidly. Okay, kindly give us other examples of high fiber foods, diet in our local diets, apart from the foreign lentils and legumes. I think you listed quite a number of those foods. If you don't mind, you could share the slide with us. We have another one here. Please, what is the side effect of taking pizza? And I don't know whether this is Fiber Live. Some say it causes cancer. How far is this true? Kindly educate us on some of the chemical processed foods and the adverse effects on our health. Dr. Adewonyi had actually talked about this. Because of time, I will just try to summarize. What we've discovered about these chemically processed foods is that they increase the rates of lifestyle-related diseases, such as cancers, especially cancers of the intestine. And it also increases the rates of diabetes. It increases the rate of overweight and obesity. I know once someone is obese, there are so many other problems that follow. It increases the saturated fat in the bloodstream, and that can go and block the blood vessels, causing heart attacks, causing stroke. So what actually happens is that some of those processing, they remove the real thing that we need in our meal, the real nutrients that we need. And we now throw that to the goats, we throw that to the animals, and we now eat just the carbohydrates. So just know that most of these things that are processed, anything that is processed, Madam Chioma really talked extensively about that. So maybe I will allow her to comment on the high fiber food. She had really talked about that before, and I can see that someone has mentioned, is asking a question, what are the health benefits of ewedu, bitter leaf, lemongrass, turmeric, ginger, garlic, lemongrass? I don't know whether you're talking about the real plant itself or you're talking about the spices. Maybe you should comment about that, Madam Chioma, and maybe you take it with the question that says, is there anything wrong with noodles like Indomie, white rice, basmati rice, flour, baked foods, pastries? Okay, over to you, Madam Chi.
Okay, I'm trying to share my screen on the whole grain versus processed grain to use that to answer some of those questions on if the noodles and all those stuff, pizza and all of that are healthy. The bottom line is that by the time they are being taken through those processes, for instance, your noodle is either made out of wheat or any other grain. And before it gets to that point where you eat it as noodle or you buy it off the shelf as pizza, a lot of the nutrients, a lot of the natural components of it are gone. All the bran cells are all taken out. The germ cells are gone. What you have left is the endosperm that is just carbohydrate dense and some proteins. So when the fiber is taken out, which is one of the major nutrients that is supposed to protect your colon, and you keep eating those things, you keep feeding those things to your children and to yourself, you run the risk of developing cancers of the colon, and several other cancers to have implicated on the issue of low fiber eating. So you're taking out all the fiber. And when we say fiber, it's not just coming from our grains and our legumes. Your vegetables, your leafy greens, all contain fiber. Even our tubers, the potatoes, the yams, they have fiber in them. So when we say fiber, it's not just vegetables, it's not just wheat. All these grains have fiber. For our legumes, a typical example is beans. We used to make moi moi. When we make moi moi or akara, we actually take the back of the beans out. That is fiber that we are taking out. So when we do that, we have actually denatured that food. We have taken out the major components of it, and the nutrient left is not as much as the natural food have to offer. So somebody will now ask, how do we eat moi moi? Have you ever tried, grinding the moi moi with the back? Maybe you should try that this weekend and see what it will turn out into. But one thing you will know is that you're going to be happy that you're enjoying the whole benefit that the legume, the beans have to offer. So by the time all our pastries, all our noodles get to our table, what we have left is just the endosperm, which is just simply 30% of the nutrients that the grain have to offer. You have thrown away 60%. So that is not quality nutrition. It's safer you get it all whole. This is not to condemn buying pizza once in a while or buying cakes once in a while for your birthday or for your kids, but provided it is not something we do regularly. Eating noodles is not something we give our kids regularly, it's safer than to have this as part of our daily nutrition. Like I mentioned earlier, when we plan what we buy when we go to the market, it makes it a lot more easy. If you don't have a plan, that's when you can easily run to noodles. It's dinner time. You're thinking, what do we do? Okay, bring Indomie, and that is it. So let's put it in plan, and we'll be able to eat healthier. Then the other question says, what are the benefits of ewedu, bitter leaf, lemongrass, turmeric, and all of these things are antioxidants rich and they contain a lot of other nutrients. Ginger, for instance, is very high in zinc, rich in zinc. I'm sure that many people discovered that during the era of COVID. You know, we are looking for zinc and people are buying zinc tablets, zinc supplements off the shelf. The truth is that your body will absorb the zinc better from your ginger, you know, than from that tablet that you're going to take. And you also run the risk of overdosing when you do the supplementation, you know, because I recently met someone that was on 50 milligrams zinc per day just because he wants to prevent COVID. And that's a lot for a man that is not supposed to get more than, I think, more than 12 or 15 milligrams in a day. And he was on 50 per day. And he was given the children too, that should take even far less. But when we can eat some of this thing that offers these nutrients naturally, we don't need to look at the supplements. Ewedu leaf, bitter leaf, they're all full of antioxidants. A lot of phytonutrients are contained in them that also help to keep healthy. Okay, someone was asking for other things that have fiber. Your ewedu leaves have fiber, your bitter leaf have fiber, you know. Lemongrass, well, people don't really cook with that. They usually will make teas from it. Then your ugu vegetable, your amaranthus, what we popularly call spinach, that's not spinach. We also have spinach in Nigeria, usually imported. And recently I heard that that is being grown in somewhere in Ogun State. Then we have the one we call green, that's amaranthus. So that's also very high in fiber. For fruits, we have fruits also contain fiber, your apples, your watermelon, your pineapples, they're all very rich in fiber. We should eat them. Avocado pear too is a fruit that is sugar-free. It doesn't contain sugar, but it has fiber. It has some fatty acids. So everything we are looking for is actually in our foods. And an easy way of getting it for us to be able to eat a wide variety of foods. Let's allow options. Let's allow varieties to come and play on our table. Then we'll be able to get all the nutrients that we're looking for.
Thank you, Madam Choma. Dr. Adewoyin, are you still there? So I think we're rounding up now. I think we've answered most of the questions. So I'm just going to give time to our speakers to just give us the wrap up. Dr. Adewoyin, you can just give us a little wrap up, maybe in about 2 minutes, and Madam Choma too, so that we can end the meeting. I really appreciate everyone for staying on this far, and I believe that we have gained a lot from this panel.
Sorry, Dr. Moye, I just noticed some question about how to know the right green tea, as we have several of them in the market. Okay, that I would say, look at the caffeine content. If the caffeine content is small, is better, is safer. Also look at the antioxidant content, but the problem is that most of the green teas we have in the market, they don't actually put up the nutrition fact. If you can assess the one that have nutrition facts included and their antioxidant contents are high, I think there are better options to go with.
Okay.
Other thing to could be the kind of leaf or the grass where the tea is made from. Can also be another way to look out for a good green tea.
All right, thank you so much. Dr. Adewoyin, your final comments.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dr. Yeah, so for me, I think I would just remind us that saying that we should eat our food like medicine, so that we won't have to eat our medicines as food, you know. So making healthy choices is key to health and longevity. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you so much. So can we have the final comments from Madam Chi.
Okay, I was just borrowing from what Dr. Ademola just said. I will say it the other way. Let's get our medicine from our kitchen instead of from the pharmacy. Let's get it from the kitchen, from our farm and our kitchens, and not from the pharmacy. And an easy way to do that is by eating our foods whole. That way we can benefit, all things that this food have to offer. Everything that we're looking for in the pharmacy, we can get them all in the farm and in our kitchens, and they're the easiest way the body loves to have them. So let's give the body what it likes to take.
Thank you once again to Dr. Adewoyin and our nutritionist, registered dietitian and nutritionist, Mrs. Miruku. Sorry, I've been avoiding pronouncing your name, so I don't.
I know. Miracle.
You can pronounce it for everybody to hear, please.
Miracle.
Miracle.
Big,
Okay.
that's Big Ocean.
Big Ocean. Wow, that's a beautiful name.
Doctor, you really need to learn that part.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. We have so many of us in the house. Mrs. Oluwole, thank you, Ma, for coming. Dr. Eleke, Mrs. Alawode, Sister Nkechi, Mr. Adedewe, Dr. Johanna, Mr. Beyoku, Dr. Makinde, Mrs. Umona, Dr. Kukoyi, Dr. Ndidi, Dr. Jaibo. I'm trying to scroll down to see the other names. Okay. Mrs. Beyoku, Dr. Udo, Mrs. Ayonlaja, Mrs. Oyemakar, Dr. Ogide, Mrs. Ogunro, Dr. Johnson, Dr. Ayodele, Mrs. Adedewe. I hope I've been able to mention most people's names. Dr. Fagbemi, Dr. Idowu, Mrs. Jayeola. My Oga is here, Dr. Odushote. Thank you for being here, Ma. Mrs. Taiwo, Dr. Okedari, Mr. Omotosho, Dr. Dabota, Mr. Wulabi, Reverend Ogundumade, Mr. Kombi, Mr. Taiwo. I hope I've mentioned everybody. Mr. Ajayi. Thank you so much, Mr. Omotosho. Mr. Omotosho, thank you so much for staying with us tonight. We appreciate your presence. I believe that you have gained something. We can't talk about healthy eating or whole food in one meeting, but we believe that you have picked up a few nuggets which have helped you tonight and which will help you to make a healthy choice confidently during this week and even after now. So we'll be sending you more information about upcoming events, our master classes, our webinars, and I know that you're going to benefit from it. One last information, Lifestyle Champions International is collaborating with the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria, as well as the Brookfield Institute of Center for Lifestyle Medicine and Bryan Institute. We're bringing a public webinar on the 29th of May, 2021, and we're going to be looking at how you can have a healthy lifestyle. We're going to be having 3 lectures, and it's for everybody. We're going to be sharing more information about that on our website. In fact, we already have the information on our website. So if you go to www.lifestylechamps.com, you're going to see information about how to be part of that webinar. You're going to gain a lot from it. So thank you once again. You can unmute yourself to say bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Ma. Good night. Happy weekend.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Dr.
everyone.
Thank you. Madam Chair, thank you. Dr. Adewoyin, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Madam Chioma. Thank you, Sister.
We can't see
Glory.
ourselves. There's no light.
Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Adewoye. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mrs.
Good
Choma.
evening. How are
Thank
you?
you, Dr. Ray.
Nice to see you here.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Good
I'll be
night.
ending-
Thank
I'll be
you,
ending the
everyone.
meeting now. Okay. Bye.
Out of this remaining 4.